Hello everyone, I am Abhishek Doshi, Google Developer Expert for Dart, Flutter, and Firebase. I've been working in Flutter since past 5 years now, and I'm currently working as Senior Flutter Engineer at Somnio Software. I'm also the organizer of FlutterConf India, and I've been mentoring people to help them learn and grow in Flutter. So today we would create a simple shopping application where we would be using a few of the REST API concepts, database concepts, as well as create the UI for login and sign up and the main shopping application. So let's get started. So here you can see that we have a simple code which doesn't have anything much. We have just created the main.dart and it contains the main function. So basically, every application that we have, it starts with the main function. We have the run app function. Run app basically tells the Flutter framework that you have to run this particular class for running the application. That is, this is the first class of the application. When we go to my app, inside my app, we have material app. Material app is the first widget that we use in Flutter, or you can say it is the top root of the Flutter. Material app allows us to include all the material designs in our application. And instead of material app, let's suppose that if you are creating an application specific for iOS, then you can also use Cupertino app instead of material app. So it's not necessary that we have to use material app only. We can also use Cupertino app, or widget app is also available. So we can use that as well. But normally we use material app. Material app contains a parameter called home. This parameter takes a widget that would be your home widget. Basically, you can provide it a container, scaffold, etc. But basically, whenever the application is ran, the home widget is the widget that is ran for the first time. That is your home screen. Now, inside the home screen, we have provided scaffold. Scaffold you can consider as a canvas on which we would be painting all the widgets. You can consider it as an empty sheet, and on that sheet we paint or print all our widgets. Next, we have app bar. App bar is basically if you consider the example of WhatsApp. So on top we have that WhatsApp written. So that is the app bar. Basically, the top bar of the application is called app bar. So if we consider our Google Chrome, so you can see this top search bar home. This is the app bar of the application. Next widget that we have used currently is text widget. Basically, this is used to print any text on the screen, and scaffold contains a body. So basically, everything between app bar and bottom bar is the body. So everything that we want to print or show, let's suppose image or multiple widgets, we would be showing in body. And inside body, right now we have written center, and center is, as the name depicts, it places the child into center position of the widget. So if we run this particular application, so to run an application in debug mode, we use F and F5 for running it in debug mode. If you want to run it simply on in normal release mode, you can just click on F5. To select an emulator, we have over here, when we scroll down, we would be having a list of emulators, a list of devices which we can select from. And whenever you run your application for the first time, it will take a bit of time because it downloads all the Gradle files. Now, what exactly is Gradle? Basically, Flutter is a framework. It is not a native component, right? So whenever we run our application, it converts the entire Flutter framework code to native code. And Gradle is part of the Android native code. It allows your application to run faster in the consecutive builds. So only for the first time, it would run a bit slower. It would take some time because it downloads all the Gradle files to your local system. These are all the warnings, so you don't have to worry about that. If there are any issues, obviously the running would fail. So till the time it is running, just to summarize what all these widgets do. Material app allows us to provide all the material designs in our application. Scaffold can be considered as the canvas on which we will be printing the widgets. App bar is the top bar of an application or of a screen. Text, it prints the text on the screen. Center, it centers the widget which is available as the child. Text widget, again it prints the text on the screen. Now you can see that the application is ran. The top blue bar is the app bar that we created. It contains text as material app bar, and in center we have hello world. Now if I just change it to hello and save it. Basically, Flutter contains this very nice feature called hot reload. If you know native Android, you would be aware that if even if we want to change a single text, we have to rerun the entire application. So it usually takes 5 to 6 minutes to rerun the application, and it usually takes 5 to 6 minutes to just check the changes in a text, which is kind of tiresome. But in Flutter, we have hot reload, so even by changing a small text, you can just click on this thunder icon. This is the hot reload icon, or you can click on Control F5, which allows you to hot reload your application, and it renders the UI very quickly. So if I change it and hot reload it, you can see it rendered the new output, new text in fraction of seconds. You can see the maximum time taken was 45 milliseconds. That's like way less, right? So that's the thing. That's the benefit of Flutter. Hot reload is one of the best feature of Flutter, and it takes very minimal time to reload your application for smaller changes. Now, it's a good practice to follow single responsibility principle. Now, what exactly is single responsibility principle? It means that each file of your application or each class of your application should be responsible for doing only one particular task. Once again, each file of the application is responsible for doing only one particular task. So here you can see that our main.dart is responsible for initializing or running our my app. It is also responsible for running home, which is not a good practice. So what we can do is we could create a new file inside lib folder, or let's create a new folder of home. Inside that we create a folder of view, or you can say pages. Inside that, we create a file home underscore page dot dot. And here, if you write STL, it is a shortcut for creating a stateless widget. So let's just create a stateless widget and give it a name as home page. Import our files. And now let's copy this, cut this particular home part to our home class. And in the main.dart, we would write home page. So you can see the output is not changing, but now it is much more cleaner. Now our main.dart is just responsible for running the main function and initializing the first screen, that is my app. Now our home page is responsible for rendering the UI of home page. Now we would be creating a login screen and a sign up screen. So the UI would be pretty simple, not like too big or NASA kind of UI. We would be just creating two text fields where we would be accepting email address and password for both login and sign up. So as we created the home page, the same way we would create a folder for login. Inside that, we would create a folder for pages and create login underscore page dot. This would be a stateful widget. Basically, why stateful widget? Because the text field that we would be having is a stateful widget because whenever we enter any input, it will change the state of the widget, right? So we would be having a stateful widget. Let's give it a name and import and change the entry point in main.dart. So you can see we didn't use the scaffold over here in login page. We just use a container. That's why it is coming entirely black. So scaffold is, as I said, it's a kind of sheet which allows us to draw particular things. Now inside body, we have a widget called column. Column basically allows us to render widgets one below another, and row allows us to render widgets one besides another. Now column has a parameter called children. It accepts list of widgets. Let's have two text fields. So you can see at the top we have the text fields. Let's wrap it with center. And the column contains two parameters, main axis alignment and cross axis alignment. For for column, main axis alignment is the vertical alignment, and for the cross axis alignment is the horizontal alignment. Now let's give some padding. Padding basically provides the spacing around the particular widget. So you can see now you can input text in this text field, but it looks pretty bad. Let's give some decoration. So the text field has a parameter called decoration, which takes input decoration as the class, and inside the input decoration we have a parameter called border, which allows us to give border to your text fields. And I just provided a widget or a class called outline input border. It gives the border to the outline border to your input text field. Let's copy the same for the next text field as well. So you can say now both of our text fields have outline input borders. We also have a parameter called hint text. So for the first, our hint text is email because we want to accept email in it. And for the second, our hint text should be password. Now for the password, we shouldn't be able to view the password, right? So we have a parameter inside text field called obscure text, and to that we can just give true. So you can see the passwords are coming as dot 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 dot. That's how our normal user interface in normal user behavior is, right? In any application we are not able to directly see the passwords. We get dot 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 dot. Now we have the two text fields. The next is a button. Before the button, let's give some spacing bit after the text fields. And we have a button called elevated button. It takes two parameters, on pressed and child. Child takes a widget. So let's just give it a text. This is for login. And on pressed needs a function. So we give it a function. So you can see we have a button now. And let's suppose that if it didn't give the size box, what would happen is the button would be like much more closer to the text field. So it's always good to provide some paddings or size box or any spacings between your widgets. So the next step is to accept the inputs in this text fields. Now we have a parameter in text field called controller. Basically, the controller is responsible for accepting the input from the text field. So we have to create two controllers. Let's name it as email controller and initialize it with the default constructor, and password controller, and assign them to the respective text fields. And now when we want to check what input we have, we can print the input using a parameter in the controller called text. So now we can see that I have inputted Adoshi26, and when I click on login, it prints Adoshi26 over here. Whatever you enter, whatever you give input to the text field, it is stored in the email controller. And if you want to access that input, you can access it using email controller dot text. Now, same way, we can also access it. We can also access the password using password controller dot text. Even though it is showing dot 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 in the text field, it doesn't mean that it would store also in the form of dots. It would actually store it in the form of string that the user has done the input. So when I click on login, so you can see both the text field values are being printed in the console. So it's easier to use text fields. Like you just give a controller to it, maybe some decoration, and that's it. And you can access your inputs using dot text parameter that we have in the controller. Tab, this was clear. Now let's create a button through which we can navigate to the sign up page. So we have a button called elevated text button. It is basically a button, but it only accepts text as the child. So you can see this is a widget where we would be providing a text. So it's kind of a hyperlink if we talk in comparison to web development. So it's kind of a hyperlink on whatever widget we provide. So even if we provide an image over here, it would be same. It will create an hyperlink. It won't create like this background blue color and something like this. It would just create a tap effect on the particular widget. Now let's create a folder for sign up or register. Inside that, let's create a folder for pages. And inside the pages, we would be creating sign up page dot dart. Now basically login page and sign up page is going to be similar, so let's just copy paste it, or let's just create it. It would be the same thing. So sign up page. Here also we would be having to, let's just first connect the sign up page. So to navigate from one page to another, we have a class called navigator and we have navigator.offContext.push. Basically, there are different types of push. One is push. So when you navigate to a route using push, the user will be able to come back to that route. When we click on back, we would be able to or allowed to come back to the previous page. Now, if you are using push replacement, it means that it will replace the current page with the new page. Push named, it means named route. So you can actually name a particular route. Like for example, with sign up, you can give slash sign up as the route name. So it will be using that in the routing. Mostly we are using push and push replacement when we are doing web development with Flutter. We are using push named. So here let's just use push, and you can see push takes an object that is extending route. So we have a widget called material page route. So we would be using that, and we have a build, and that particular takes a builder which needs a context, and this builder needs a return type as widget. So here we can directly call sign up page, and that's it. So you can see we are able to navigate to sign up page, and when I click on back, I am again back on the login page. Let's give a color so that it's clearly visible. So you can see this is the sign up page, this is the login page. Now we can navigate from login page to sign up page very easily. Let's design our sign up page. Every page that you create would start with scaffold. If in very rare conditions, if you don't want scaffold, you can also use a container. For example, let's suppose if you are developing an application for video calls, in that case, you don't need app bar, bottom nav bar, etc. You just need the video. So you can use container so that you can have the full screen. So that's how you can also use container instead of scaffold. But here, as we have the entire UI, different components in the UI, we will be using scaffold. Inside that, we have a body, column, children, and similarly, we would also have two text fields over here, giving the main axis as center, cross axis as center, so that the text fields come in center. Let's give some padding to both of our text fields. Decoration and some border. Let's give to the second text field as well. Also, to see the suggestions that the VS Code or any of the emulator would be providing, you can do control space. Control space would list down all the parameters that are accepted in a particular widget. So it would become easier for you. You don't have to remember all the parameters. It would become easier for you to, just check the parameter name and use it. If the suggestion doesn't come, you can just hover to the particular widget and all the parameters would be listed in the documentation also. So we have the two text fields. Now let's create the controllers for it. Email controller and password controller. Next is we give this controllers to the text fields, and we also give the hint texts. Let's create our button for sign up. It should just say sign up, and right now we would just be printing what our controller is storing. Okay, so you can see the login page and sign up page looks pretty similar. We just have one difference, that is in login page we have a button to go to sign up page, while on sign up page we just have two text fields and a button called sign up. Now let's build the logic of sign up. So what we would do is currently we would just create a local variables for login and sign up, so that if the login or sign up page, if the whenever the user is doing sign up or whenever the user is doing login, if the username and password is equal to a particular username and password, we would allow them to move to the uh, home page. So let's do that. Let's first store our email input into a variable called email input. Similarly for password, if underscore email input equal abc@gmail.com. So we have checked the email. We also need to check for password. Password should be 123. One thing to keep in mind is even if the user is inputting numbers, our controller would consider it as a string only, no matter whichever type of characters they are. Now let's just print it first. So let's try out if this is working. And when I click on login, it says login failed because the password matched was 123 and we entered 1234. Now let's try it again. So you can see it says successfully logged in. So our logic is working perfectly, though it is without the database. Right now we have just created it local logic. Now whenever we connect a database, it would be like database.email or and database.password. So it would, the logic would still remain the same. It would be dynamically called from database. That's the only difference. Now, if the user is successfully logged in, we move the user to home page. First of all, let's see if we have the home page. Right, we have the home page, right? So let's call it material page route, builder, context, home page. Now, if the login fails, let's assume that the user has not actually created. So let's navigate them to sign up page. And it's always a good practice to add commas and semicolons and whatever, whichever needed, because with commas only, the Flutter framework would be able to format your code. So let's try out if things are working. Now, this is the correct password. When I click on login, it is showing any error because unimplemented handling of missing static target. I just need to do a hot restart. Hot restart means it completely reruns your application. And you can see we are navigated to the home page. Now you can see that on the app bar, the back icon is automatically coming. Like if I open the code, we have not added the back icon anywhere in the application, in the code. But it is automatically coming because we have used push navigation. If we are using push replacement, then the back icon would not come. You can see now the back icon is not coming. And if I click on back, the application would be closed because the current route was replaced with the new route. And actually, like if you are implementing login and sign up, it should be used as push replacement, right? If a user is successfully logged in and if we are navigating them to home page, we should be using push replacement and not push. Now, if we are entering a wrong email, wrong password, com 1234, and if we click on login, it is redirecting us to sign up page because based on our logic, if the email and password is not correct, we navigate them to the sign up page because we are assuming that the login and the user is not at all created. Now let's do the same for sign up as well. Now if the user is entering the email and password as abc@gmail.com and then password is 123, navigate them to the home page. Actually, we should be navigating them to the login page because according to good user experience, whenever a new user is created, they should not be navigated directly inside your application. They should be allowed to log in directly. So let's just run navigator dot off context dot push and give login page. And in else we won't be doing anything. So let's try it. abc@gmail.com. Password 1234. You can say nothing is happening. Let's do else print sign up failed. When we connect this particular page to backend, here what we would be doing is we would be storing the user inputs to the database so that we can fetch it in the login page. So you can see sign up failed. Now let's try to Oh, we haven't done the obscure text in this, so let's do that also. Sign up. Now I am back to login. Let me try to login, and we are on the home page. So you can see the entire flow has been completed. We created an account, which is definitely a local account, and then we moved to the home page. We moved to the login page. On the login page, we create logged in with our user credentials, that is abc@gmail.com, and password 123, and we navigated back to the home page. So, in this section, we actually saw what is Material App. Just to summarize, Material App is a widget that is used to provide all the material designs. In the Material App, we have a parameter called Home. Home is the parameter which is the first screen of your material of your application. Here we have login page. We created a login page stateful widget in which we have scaffold. Scaffold is a widget which can be considered as a white sheet or white canvas on which we print all our widgets. Next, we have center. It aligns the child of the widget in center position. Column, we created column in which we created two text fields which would be rendered one below another. In text fields are the widgets that allows the user to input text. All the text that has been given input in the text field is considered as string, no matter even if the user is inputting numbers. Next, we added padding to the text fields so that the text fields doesn't get stuck to the ends of the screen. In the text fields, we provided some decoration, that is the input decoration and border. We provided the hint text, and all the inputs that has been given to the text field are stored in a controller. So we initialized two controllers, email controller and password controller, and provided it to the respective text fields. Then we created a button called elevated button, and in that there are two parameters, on pressed and child. In the child, we provided a text that is login, and on pressed, initially we just printed what the inputs were being provided, and next was text button, and in that we provided the text as sign up. Then we created the sign up page similar to login page, and from login page we navigated to sign up page. Navigation can be done through navigator widget or navigator class. There are different types of navigation like push replacement, push named, etc. When we are doing a navigation using push, user can come back to the previous route. When we are doing the navigation using push replacement, user cannot come back to the previous route, but the current route would be replaced by the previous route. Then we added a logic to the on press part of the login, that if the input that the user has been given is abc@gmail.com and password is 123, then we are navigating it to the home page. Otherwise, we are navigating it the user to the sign up page. Inside the sign up page, we did a similar logic. In sign up page, also in on pressed, if the user is entering abc@gmail.com and password is 123, we are navigating it them to login page so that they can log in into the application. Else, we are just printing sign up failed. Now, coming to the home page, in the home page, we have scaffold as a root. Inside the scaffold, we had a parameter called app bar, in which we provided the app bar. App bar is the top bar, that is this blue bar in the application, and the back arrow would come only if we are navigating using push. If we are navigating using push replacement, the back arrow won't come. Then app bar, everything between the app bar and bottom bar is called body in the scaffold. And here we provided the center widget. And inside the center widget, we provided a text, hello world or hello. This was all the code part. We also learned what hot reload and hot restart is. Hot reload, whenever we want to change something inside the build method, for example, a simple text or color of the button or the background color of the scaffold, etc. and it would be instantly reflected on the UI if we use hot reload. Now, if you want to restart your application, we can use hot restart, which is this green arrow, and the left one is the hot reload option. We also learned about single responsibility principle. Single responsibility principle means that a particular file or a particular class should be responsible for only one particular functionality. So, for example, main.dart is just responsible for rendering your main application. Home is only responsible for rendering home UI. Login is only responsible for rendering the login page. Similarly, sign up page is only responsible for rendering the sign up page. We also understood that for the first time, the Flutter application takes a bit of time while running because the Gradle files are being downloaded. We also saw that Flutter is just a framework. It converts all the code, all the Flutter code which is written in Dart language, it converts it to native language, that is Android and iOS. So for whenever we are running a particular Flutter application in Android, it is converting the Dart code to Kotlin or Java. And whenever we are running in iOS, it is converting the code to C sharp or Swift. We also checked Sizebox. Sizebox is a widget that allows you to provide size between the widgets. And we also saw container. Basically, this both are kind of similar widgets, the container and Sizebox. But the only difference is that in Sizebox we can just give height and width, while in container we can give height, width, color, much more decorations, background color, and many more things. For column, we saw that the main axis alignment and cross axis alignment, main axis alignment is the vertical one and the cross axis alignment is the horizontal one. In column, the widgets are placed one below another, and in row, the widgets are placed one beside another. Column and row has a parameter called children, which accepts multiple widgets inside it. That is called list of children. We also use the final keyword. Final keyword means that the value of that keyword won't change in the entire life cycle of the application. We used two types of widgets, stateless widget and stateful widget. Stateless widget means that it is not going to change based on the user interaction. As the name suggests, it doesn't have a state, while the stateful widget changes with user interaction. That is, it has a state, as the name suggests. And I guess that's it. In the next section, we would create a basic UI for the shopping application on the home page, and we would also check what API is. Thank you.